Welcome to Build Your Team on a Budget. Start with the basics first. I'm your facilitator, Delmar Johnson, president of Delmar Johnson Enterprises and the founder and creator of HRBrainforHire.com. We're going to jump straight into it. So let's start talking about the 5 steps to building a team on a budget. Number 1, assess and make the decision that it's time to hire. Number 2, identify your options. Number 3, create a job profile or job description. Number 4, post job on various platforms. And number 5, conduct interview and choose top candidate. We're going to break each one of those down in this presentation. So let's get started. Step number 1, making the decision to expand or not. Now, as an HR consultant, I've brought my corporate experience into the small business community on purpose because I want to see you win. And in helping you build a team on a budget, we're going to start with, again, step 1, making the decision to expand or not. There are 5 key questions you should ask yourself and to assess if you're ready to hire. Number 1, are you ready to expand? Right off the bat, are you ready to expand? Can you afford it? Again, we're talking about building your team on a budget. So can you afford it? Are you ready to give up control? That is something that I've seen with several entrepreneurs and small business owners that I have consulted and helped over the last several years, that they think no one else can do what they do, or no one else can, do the things exactly like they do. However, in order for you to build your team, when you're bootstrapping or when you have an influx of revenue and profits, you have to be ready to give up some level of control so someone else who's coming in to help you, of course, you're building your team, right? You're wanting someone to come in and help you relieve some of those things that has got you tied up and keeping you from going after new clients, keeping you from really nurturing the current clients that you have. So you have to be ready to give up some control and let them operate and be excellent in their lane. Another question you should ask yourself, can you take on more risk? Because when you're building a team, you are taking a risk. And that's what entrepreneurs and small business owners do every day, right? Take on risk. Another key question you should ask yourself, what do I really need help doing? So before you jump in, going after and finding that intern or that contractor or whomever it is that you're going to create your team out of, the first thing you need to do is step number 1, make the decision to expand or not by asking yourself those 5 critical questions. Are you ready to expand? Can you afford it? Are you ready to give up control? Can you take on more risk? And what do I really need help doing? Step number 1. Let's move to step number 2. What are your team options? Now, there's several options that you really do have, even if you don't have a large budget. Remember, we are talking about building your team on a tight budget. All right. So you can have interns. Interns, I think, is one of the best ways to go when you're bootstrapping and you're really watching your budget very closely. So you can have an on-site intern. If you have a brick and mortar, obviously they can come into your office and help you that way. It could be virtual. That's the beauty of technology, right? Just like the technology I'm on doing this presentation for you, and you're sitting down listening to it. So you can have a virtual intern, and then you can have what's called an 8-hour intern, where you have very specific hours per week or per month that intern is going to work for you. Therefore, you're able to really manage your budget even more closely and be very keen to what monies are going out as far as paying that particular team member, in this case an intern. You can have a part-time worker. You can have a very part-time worker. That part-time worker may be just working for you 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a month. Okay. So you can manage your budget even more in that way as a part-time worker. Now, a part-time worker can be obviously more expensive than an intern, because an employee, even in a part-time capacity, does require you to have certain things in place as a payroll employee. So, but nevertheless, you may have a budget that can accommodate that as long as you plan out in ahead of time. Another budget-friendly way to do is really deal with independent contractors and freelancers. Okay, independent contractors, which are also called freelancers. Excuse me. So You can be very limited on what they work on for you. It could be one specific project, and there's certain tasks and responsibilities that go with that project where you're trying to satisfy a deliverable for a paying client that you have. Now, if you're in a nonprofit entity, well, volunteers are a great way for you to get help without blowing your budget, or you may not. And usually, as a volunteer in a nonprofit, you don't need a budget because you're not necessarily paying them, but it may be other avenues that you're going to incentivize them, whether that is a gift card or, a gift card to their favorite place to eat or whatever it may be. So that may be one of your expenses as far as volunteers are concerned, but usually very budget friendly. And a lot of times you don't have to go into your budget to pay to have a volunteer, particularly if you're a nonprofit entity. And then, of course, you can again source out your work to other small businesses, such as myself. I'm an HR resource for the small business community. So there may be additional needs that you need from that perspective. You can reach out to me or any other entity or other small business that you need help from. All right, let's continue. Step 3, create the job profile. Okay, now you've asked yourself those important questions about, are you ready to expand or not? We've talked about what your options are. So let's say that you're going for an intern. Perfect. Or even if you're going for a freelancer, that's perfect too, right? So step 3 is create the job profile. So these are some of the things you want to look at when you're creating the job profile. Sometimes we'll call it job description as well, okay? So number 1, figure out what you need. Just figure out what you need. And I usually tell my clients and other entrepreneurs that I speak to is just simply take out a legal pad and a pencil or pen, excuse me, and start writing down what it is that you need. Then you want to be able to create a clear job description of each job that you want to fill. So if you're going to fill an intern, then that's the position that you're going to be writing the profile on a particular intern role that you want to fulfill. The third thing you want to look at is establish a budget that will support your decision. So, of course, a lot of people look at interns like, oh, that's unpaid labor. But a lot of times, many interns are looking for paid internships. Okay, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. However, it is a way to incentivize for that intern to really show up and be committed to serving you as an intern and serving you in your business and fulfilling some of the needs that you need fulfilled. Okay, have a clear idea of what you can offer an employee in this case, or a team member. Okay, I like to say team member a lot. So have a clear idea of what you can offer a team member. And then another thing you should look at when you're creating the job profile, say post a job ad on multiple job boards, internships.com, Craigslist, and other free job board platforms. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. Okay. Step 4 is post a job ad. So you're gonna post a job ad on multiple job boards. Internships.com is awesome, an awesome platform if you're looking for quality interns. Craigslist, I would be cautious about using Craigslist, but Craigslist can still be very effective as long as you monitor it very closely. Other local job boards that may be even where you are locally, there can be physical job boards that you can go to, other college job boards, or also with not with interns, but with contractors. You can actually use Upwork.com, all right, which is a place where you can find freelancers from all over the world. And then there's other free-based job boards you want to research and do a Google search on on Google on the internet, right? All right, so that's step 4. Post your job ad. Let's continue. And then step 5. Can you believe we're already at step 5? Conduct an interview and choose your candidate. So you want to ask yourself some of the following questions when you're thinking about when you're in the middle of the interview, and after the interview you want to ask these questions to yourself as well. Do I like this candidate as a person? Okay, in the interview you that is the goal is to find out about the person in the interview process, right? Not only about the person, but of course what they've done, and what their skill set and knowledge and talents are that's going to apply to the position that you're putting that you want them to fulfill. So, do I like this candidate as a person? Does he or she have enthusiasm and passion for the position? You want someone with high energy that's ready to really be committed to whatever it is that they're going to be doing for you. Another thing you want to look at and ask yourself after you've done the interview and begin to do the selection process is, does that person have the specific skills, talent, and know-how that will make a difference in your business? That's another thing you want to look at when you're hiring somebody. Will they make, do they have what it takes to bring, that they're bringing to the table? Do they have what it takes? Okay. Do they have what it takes? And will it make a difference in your business, what it is that they say they can bring to the table? And then, will he or she fit into my company culture? Okay, what kind of culture have you built for your business? So those are the 5 steps. Again, this is kind of getting you straight to the concept and the idea of what it takes to actually begin to build your team, even when you're bootstrapping, even when you have a tight budget and you're having to keep a close eye on it. The continuation of step 5 is filling the job opening. So when you hire the candidate, I always suggest entrepreneurs or small business owners to actually hire the candidate on a trial basis. So example, set up a 14-day or 30-day contract. Okay, especially if you're working with a contractor that's even beyond Upwork.com. Maybe you have a referral from a fellow entrepreneur, small business owner, that you're going to get a contractor. I typically contract myself out to small business owners. So you may be contracting me. You may want to even put me on a trial basis about what it is I said I can deliver for you. So it could be a 14-day or 30-day contract. I would suggest a 30-day contract because that really give you a greater viewpoint if the candidate is a good fit. You can hire them or permanently at the end of that trial period. Okay, even an intern can be turned into a permanent employee, if you get to that point. Or you can just extend the internship so they can get even greater experience. If he or she is not a good fit, then the contract will terminate. And in the meantime, you can work on finding another candidate. So you want to try out the contractor or you want to try out the intern. I think that trial basis will help both of you. What are some of the documents you should have? And I'm just looking at employee versus contractor. So if you have an employee, it would be a resume, new job application, okay, particularly with the EEOC statement on it, regular tax form, your W-4 forms, I-9 work eligibility form, and then a background check authorization. If you wind up going with the part-time employee, again, this is just an example. If you go with a contractor, especially one that's not a virtual contractor, well, excuse me, they're a virtual contractor, but you may not have gotten them from Upwork. It may have been a referral from a fellow entrepreneur. Then you will have an independent contractor agreement, a non-disclosure statement or non-compete form, and a W-9 form, just to have some documentation in place of what the person is going to be doing for you. And then you want to onboard and establish some standards, okay? So you want to create a physical and or online folder for each team member that you bring on. You want to communicate your expectations. All right, you're going to want your team members to know what you expect and what your standards are. Establish or distribute necessary codes if they need, passwords or certain links to things that they're going to have access to, that the new member again will have access to it in order to help you. You want to allow to do the task and assignments you gave them to do. Okay, so you want to allow them the time to get it done, allot the time to get it done, and so they can be successful in completing those assignments for you. Then you want to create a space or an opportunity to ask you questions if necessary. Never just dump everything off on your team member and then, cut off questions, because questions will get you questions, and open communication will resolve a lot of things that may potentially turn into problems, and you don't want that. So in closing, as you grow, having the right support will become a necessity and not just a want. What's essential is that you map out and execute the steps, such as the ones I've shared with you here, to begin building the right team for you with the right budget in mind. All right? So that is the conclusion of building your team on a budget. You can definitely stay connected with me on Facebook, Twitter, or Periscope at HR Brain for Hire. Then you can also check out the website at hrbrainforhire.com. I'm so glad that that you gave me the opportunity to share with you about building your team on a budget. Again, this is your facilitator, Delmar Johnson, the founder and creator of hrbrainforhire.com. Have an awesome day, and here's to building your team on a budget.